see you again. So, I really want to introduce more people to your music world, which is indeed magical. So, tell us your story, please. Where are you from? And are you from musical or artistic family?
Good question. My story musically, I actually have a very convoluted story, I would say. It wasn't really straightforward. But in the family line, musically related, I would say probably no. So growing up, my mom sings a lot, but she was never really a professional artist or like actually went to music professionally. She just had a flair for music,
Mm-hmm.
which technically made that enlist me in music school when I was probably 6 or 7 thereabouts. So I was in music
Mm-hmm.
school for about a year, which is where I would say my musical career technically started. I went to music school for about a year. Then I was also in the church choir, which is pretty much where I'd say most people started officially. So I was in the church choir, which I was singing for a while. But I dropped out of the church choir and music school almost simultaneously. I think I was like probably I dropped out of music school first, and then I dropped out of choir when I got into like an altercation with someone. The man was kind of like suppressing me, was denying me practice time and all of those stuff. And I was like, I was a kid, but I wasn't really feeling that vibe. Like, why would you not allow me come to practice? Why would you not allow me do this when I want to do it? So I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna quit. So I quit music completely then, and I just stopped making music. So
Mm-hmm.
from that point, I moved on to actually writing articles, poems, love stories. My friends would see it, and my big bros then, and my bigger cousins, and they'd be like, "Oh, I like the story. Can you write a love poem for me? Can you write this?" So that kind of like started building my writing skills. I didn't know then, anyways. So I started
Mm-hmm.
writing more and more. Then when I got into college, a couple of my neighbors were actually artists, and they saw my books and they were like, "Yo, these are songs that you've written." I'm like, "No, they are poems and articles." They're like, "No, these are songs." So they picked up my some of my songs and of poems then and started making them into songs. I actually take them to the studio and recording. I was like, "Okay, that sounds good. Okay, that sounds good." And eventually, when I got to my third year in college, they kind of like came to me one day and they were like, "Yo, I think it's time. You need to actually come to the studio with us." So I went to the studio, we sat together for a day, we wrote a new song and pretty much put everything together. And the following day, I made my first song. I loved the experience, hearing myself sound on the mic and all of that. And I was just like, okay, I think I like this. I love this. Let's get started. So
Oh,
I wrote my second song, the third song, and it's been a roller coaster since then, pretty much. So I guess that's my story and backtrack into music.
that's so interesting. Is Sage Dino your real name? What's the story there?
So Sesame is actually not my real name.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are actually not my real names initially. Fun fact. So Sage came as a nickname due to my inquisitive nature. So pretty much at this point, most people, I'm not sure about that, but most people believe there's probably no topic you want to really talk about I don't have an idea about because I like to like learn, I read a lot and just gather knowledge from a bunch of places. So people start calling me Sage, like the ancient slash well knowledgeable wise one in quotes. So that kind of like became acquired and somehow crept into my names and became my middle name eventually. While Signo comes from my first name. So it became my first name is Oluwatosin in full,
Mm-hmm.
which the short form of it is Tosin. And so my friends at college called me Tosin, Tisino. Okay, Tosin became Tosino, Tosino became Tisino, then
Mm-hmm.
Tisino became Sino. So it was like it kept refining itself over time. And so about 3 years ago, so I used to go by Tisino actually for a while as my music name was just Tisino. But about 2 years ago, I kind of like was sitting down trying to rebrand my music and just put everything together into one bracket that was going to be well relatable and represent me as a total or as a person in total. And so I took my middle name, which is Sage, and the nickname, which is Designer at that point, and shortened it something people could also relate to, pronounce, and actually say easily. So it became Sage Signer. And that's the story behind it.
Okay, thank you. Do you play any instruments? If not, what instrument you wanted to learn, if there is one?
So yes, unfortunately, I don't think I can play any instruments right now to save my life. But on a fun fact, I mentioned I did go to music school when I was a kid, so I actually have a little background in piano, the drums, and guitar. So I could actually play
Mm-hmm.
basic strings or like basic chords and on both instruments, and then drums I could mess around and do a little, but I won't
Yeah.
consider myself somebody who plays. I just
Mm-hmm.
understand the overall and the basics. Would I love to learn? Oh yes. I think on my list of things to learn now is actually the piano because I'm trying to get back into production fully. So piano and then guitar eventually and then drums. So I think those three would actually come back fully as my to-go list of instruments to learn.
Yeah, that's always a great choice. Can you please tell in what style do you write and what mostly music is about?
My style of writing, it's sometimes a little all over the place, based on the kind of genre I'm either writing for specifically or the inspiration behind the song. So, which sometimes varies either based on my mood or based on the scenario. There's a lot of things that actually determines the direction of the writing. But primarily, I'd say most of my songs that I've written so far have to do with either love or real life situations. So like what's going on around us. For instance, one of the songs I wrote last year was for the NSAS movement. Actually, two songs I did then. I said NSAS was for the Black Lives Matters movement, so I did two songs
Mm-hmm.
then. So most of the
Mm-hmm.
songs, as I said, I write is either love, romance related, or it goes towards the more realistic life situations, things you're going through, and like motivation through life, things like that. Those determine my writing styles eventually. And genre in general, I would say I primarily do Afrobeats, but in variations of it. So sometimes you're having like pop in Afro pop, Afro rap,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes almost Afro EDM-ish. But I primarily would put all of that into a genre called Afrobeats, or my new genre now that I'm building, which I call ish music.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Talking about styles, and is there any music style that you don't like? If yes, why?
I would say there's actually none that I don't like per se, because
Mm-hmm.
I probably pride myself as being one of the few people who has one of the most diverse playlists in the world. I literally listen to everything. Like if you check my playlist, you would literally find a song from I probably say I have songs that cut across of like 70 or 80 different languages, and I'm not even joking. Like I have tons of countries, genres, styles of music that I listen to. But if there is one I would say I wouldn't listen to so often, it's not like I still can't listen to it, but I just wouldn't sit down and like listen to it for a whole day straight up or binge listen to it. That would be hard metal rock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's talk about producing music. So, could you please tell where or how did you learn to produce it? Are you a self taught, or maybe you attended some courses?
Thanks. Good question. So for production, I actually stumbled into it myself. Precisely back in, I think it was 2004, a friend of mine, so I've always been a computer person, so I did a lot of programming. From being a child, I used to hack into games and add extra life points or whatnot. So I was always the software guy pretty much. And one of my friends needed help kind of like setting up a studio then and was asking me what kind of softwares. So I pretty much researched into softwares and got him a set of softwares he would need to like get his music stuff going. And one of those then was Fruity Loops. So I got him Fruity Loops, but obviously I got myself Fruity Loops too in the process. So I was like, yeah, why not just try it out and see what it looks like? So I jumped into Fruity Loops, and
Mm-hmm.
thanks to the packs and the presets they had, the drum rolls and whatnot, I started putting things together and it was making sense. So that was
Mm-hmm.
my start into production, which I did for like a year or two then before I left completely again. It was just something I did like freestyle. I was just jump on just to make myself happy. I never released for anybody, produced for anybody. It was just fun. I didn't get back to music much later afterwards though. But yeah, I'll call myself self-taught. Right now I work
Mm-hmm.
on a bunch of different programs, but it's pretty much self-taught. I go by my ears, what I listen to, and from what I see, I just put things together and make sense. And yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, and talking about your music, One of my favorite songs is For You from your album Renaissance. So, can you tell a background story about it?
And an
Thanks.
artist you're
Featured
working with.
Maury, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of backgrounds to that actually for you.
Interesting.
Okay. So for you actually spun off, so there was an EP I did prior to Renaissance, which is called Recreation. I did that in 2014, and there's a track on that EP called Imagination. So,
Mhm.
Imagination was pretty much a love story of me meeting a girl, telling her how beautiful she is, how much I would love to have her in my life, and actually meet with her parents and pretty much make her mine. So that was the fiction based was pretty much fiction based but was quite realistic, and that was the beginning of For You in code. So we did Imagination, and I had Sayal on that one who took the hook or the chorus to
Mhm.
that. And so when we were making Renaissance was actually the continuation for Recreation. So like
Mhm.
almost all the tracks in Renaissance were actually continuing the story from Recreation. So For You was continuation to Imagination, which is now that I've let you know everything I feel about you. Now For You is now me telling you how much I'm willing to go the extra mile for you. Like pretty much that's what
Mhm.
I'll run a race for you. I'll do everything for you pretty much. Like my
Mhm.
life, my all, it's all about you and it's for you. And I think that's the
Okay.
biggest backstory to it. Maury, who collaborated on the track, is actually the sister of my one of my good friends, who's also a producer,
Mhm.
and worked with my producer then. So we all worked together, and so she was just the best fit for the track at that time. And we were like, yeah, sure. She said she loved it too. Let's jump on it. So I did the verses. She listened to the verse, and then she came up with the hook for it. And yeah, and that was the
Mhm.
best place up for you.
Oh, that was so interesting to listen. Oh, thank you.
And so, do you have any songs that haven't been released? If no, why?
There is a lot, not just any.
Oh,
I have a lot
really?
of songs. I was actually going through my archives. That was yeah, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? So we actually have an album that has been
Ooh.
finished literally for 2 years ago. Since 2 years ago, we
Uh-huh.
actually have a completed album we're yet to release. It's that crazy. Um, we finished it just towards the end, the start of the pandemic, so we just decided to put it on pause. But yeah, I have an album ready to come out. There's two EPs that are also technically almost ready. One is my last what I call it trap rap, because back in the day I used to do a little bit of rap and trap too. So we have an EP which would be the last one in that style of music, which it's like we have all the songs we've done. Why don't we just drop some of it before we stop or close that project completely? So I have those coming out. I have the album. It's called Sounds from the Other Side. So let me just give you the intro.
Mhm.
Everything is ready. The album art, everything is ready literally. So Stuff from the Other Side is
Mhm.
coming, and then Sage Chronicles, which is my introduction as back into music fully, is also almost ready. I have a bunch of tracks featuring a lot of great artists from a bunch of places too. So that is almost ready too. So yes, we have a couple of songs coming soon.
Okay, awesome. Can't wait to hear them. Okay.
Okay.
Do you have any weaknesses that you're actively working to improve on?
Yeah, there's a bunch of weaknesses. I believe the more you learn actually in life, the more you discover your shortcomings, and naturally, the more you want to learn to improve and cover up on some of those shortcomings. One of the biggest ones that actually stands straight up at my face right now is actually the fact that I don't play an instrument. Because
Mhm.
once you can add one or two instruments, it actually takes your level of music perception, production, and all of this to a completely new level. So I really need to actually learn an instrument. That's one of the key ones on my level, and then also improve my mixing and mastering skills too. There's still a long way to go, especially with the new genre I'm building, which I called Ish Music initially. I need to really take my game to the next level in order to actually deliver exactly what I have in my head I'm trying to deliver to the world.
Have you ever experienced in teaching the music? If not, would you want to try it? Maybe.
Experience teaching music, I would say no. I've taught a lot of things, but music was never one of them.
Mhm.
I don't think I've ever taught music sincerely.
Mm.
Probably helped to, so like in the studio, help arrange songs, obviously, help rewrite songs, help um, with some deliveries, show or you're trying to tweak that, improve the EQ this way, improve that. This is what you need to do, or add this plugin, take that out. I've done a little bit of that, but I won't actually say I've taught music. Would I be willing
Mhm.
to try? I don't run from challenges. I believe challenges helps us get better, and when you teach is actually, for a fun fact, I believe teaching is actually one of the biggest ways to learn. Because when you teach someone or when you teach something, one, you have to actually improve your own knowledge of something for you to actually be able to teach it to start with. And then while you're teaching, you also discover new things and you also learn from the person you're teaching to simultaneously. So it's a three-way channel that actually helps you to learn a lot more. So that being said, yes, I'd love to teach if I have the opportunity to. Right now, if I thought no, yeah,
Okay.
And so, do you have any hobbies or interests outside of music?
yes, I do. Music is probably one of the biggest hobbies I have actually as an hobby because I do other things for work. But other hobbies that I have, I'm a big computer slash tech freak. Not freak is not a
Mhm.
geek. Geek is the word
Yeah.
for it. So I have a YouTube channel called Tech on Time Lapse. So I do a lot of tech
Mhm.
reviews, and yeah, I actually have a bunch of videos coming up for that. So that I'm actually editing right now. So yeah, I do tech reviews. That's one of the things I have hobbies in, and I love to travel. I travel all the
Yes,
time.
your channel. I yes, I've seen the videos.
Yes, I travel a lot and I travel all the time. So yes, I would say probably those are my two biggest hobbies aside from music.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And what accomplishments do you see yourself achieving in the next 5 to 10 years?
Okay, so 5 to 10 years, I actually see myself as being a lot more established and settled in quotes.
Uh-huh.
And that comes from being able to have increased my reach, my influence, and I've delivered a bunch of the projects I'm trying to deliver. And yeah, so success for me in 5 years will probably be to increase my followership to a decent extent, being able to share and spread love to a very huge extent through my music and my reach, um, being able to achieve a certain metrics financially too, and probably potentially settling down too. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah,
Okay.
probably yeah, potentially I'd say probably those are my biggest metrics in the next 5 years. Going big and being able to, at least one of the biggest ones for me is to eventually be able to deliver and establish the ish music that I mentioned too, because that's been in the works for a while now, and I'm actually currently hunting for people to collaborate with to bring that genre to life because it's a mix of Afrobeat, EDM, and a little bit of rap all mixed into one. So
Hmm.
um it's quite a mix. But yeah, I'm still trying to
Hmm.
collaborate with a few people to bring some form of that to life.
Hmm.
There's two projects right now that I've worked on, which are close to what we're trying to work towards, but still not there. So yeah, we're still in line. So yeah, I think those are some of the things I would say are my potential goals for the next 5 years.
Moving to our final question. So, could you give some advice to aspiring musicians regarding what skills they need to develop to succeed?
So skills to succeed, I'm still young and I'm far from success to myself to be very sincere. But things I'll probably outline that I think are probably the biggest things in the music game eventually, because at the end of the day, there are two dimensions to business to music actually. There's the hobby side, which is where I think I lie on right now. People just do it for fun because they have the passion and they just like to do what they do. And there's the business side where it's not really so much about yes, you have to be passionate about it. You need to know what you're doing, but it's
Hmm.
more streamlined towards a certain kind of style, delivery, pressure to make sure you can hit a certain metrics and deliver in a certain kind of way to appeal socially to the crowd, to the people and whatnot. There's a lot of marketing and branding elements that are more involved in that. So that being said, if you're going the hobby route, I would say stay true to yourself. Um, Learn whatever you feel you need to learn to deliver what you want to deliver, and just have fun with what you're doing. If you're trying to go the business route, which is actually making it big in music as a business and as a lifestyle, then you want to pretty much learn everything you need to learn to make sure you're the best in whatever you want to do. Get a clarity on what genre or what specific style of music you want to base on and develop yourself in that. Don't be a little all over the place. Try and be very streamlined. So like there's one brand element when people think about you, they can think about or when they listen to a sound, they know this is you. Like there are certain notations from your call to your name to your sound to your vocal pattern. You're able to streamline and work on that to know this is exactly yourself. Like create that brand element and image for yourself. Three, create a consistent image for yourself. So that's the external image. And four, which I think is very big in the industry, is network. Network, network, network. As
Mhm.
many people as you can work with, as many people as you can collaborate with, just try and keep working because that creates a loop and a mesh where these people know you. Even if there is, I would say, even if there's no major opportunity for you immediately, when an opportunity or a role exists, let's say someone like Drake is trying to jump on a track and you've worked with like four or five people in this external circle and they're like, oh, we need somebody to fill in this short part or something, they can think of, oh, Evie is the person to go for. I think she can do the job and you just find yourself in a studio at night randomly, and the next person you're working with is Drake, the next person you're working with is Beyonce. So that's actually how it works. It's network, network, network. It's a people business, and it's a people business. It's people that make and break people in music. You can literally have all the talents in the world, and if the industry wants to go against you, it's very difficult for you to make things work. And if you're with the industry, then it's also easier. It's not necessarily all about network, as I said, but network plays a huge part, and it's never really about money. And also, the last thing I would say is build a good connection with your fan base or with the people who actually love your music or your style. Have a deep connection with them. There's nothing as great or as amazing as having your own fan base and people who actually believe in your music and your groove. Fit those people, grow with them, and let them grow with you. Those are the people who would actually lift you up and spread your music to the rest of the world and make you into whatever you want to become musically eventually if you're going on that business route too.
Okay, thank you very much for the words of wisdom and opening the door to your music world. I wish you to succeed in your music career and write more beautiful songs. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you
More
so
beautiful
much.
songs.
Thank you so
Honestly, it's
much.
it's amazing what you're doing.